A Strange New Worlds crossover with Scott Bakula's Enterprise captain is possible. Star Trek Enterprise's Jonathan Archer was captain of the Enterprise in the 22nd century, but it's possible Archer could cross over into Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Archer's pioneering voyages commanding the X-Zone start in 2151, with a jump ahead in Star Trek Enterprise's series finale showing Archer delivering a speech that would mark the founding of the United Federation of Planets in 2161. However, there is a chance Jonathan Archer is still alive in Star Trek Strange New Worlds 23rd century. Humans in Star Trek don't have the lifespans of Vulcans, but advanced medicine of the future, good genetics, and a lot of luck have allowed some humans to live over a century. In Star Trek, the Next Generation series premiere, an elderly Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy DeForest Kelly visited the USS Enterprise D in the 24th century. Bones was 137 years old in TNG. Means like being trapped in a transporter buffer or even being transported to the Nexus have let other Star Trek, the original series characters, jump ahead by a century. Star Trek Enterprise's Captain Jonathan Archer was canonically born on August 4, 2112. This would make Archer 148 years old in Star Trek Strange New Worlds if the upcoming Season 3 takes place in 2260. Archer would be very elderly, but he could conceivably still be alive. At this point in his life, Jonathan Archer would be retired. Archer became a Starfleet admiral and served as the first president of the Federation after his mission as captain of the Enterprise was completed. Star Trek Strange New Worlds could easily conjure a scenario where the expertise of Jonathan Archer is required, perhaps something tying back to the Xindi or another foe Archer faced on Star Trek Enterprise. If Jonathan Archer is still alive in Strange New Worlds, he would likely be living on Earth, possibly in his birthplace of upstate New York or in San Francisco, where he lived most of his adult life, and where Starfleet headquarters is located. Archer may also be living in France, since Federation headquarters is based in Paris. Star Trek Strange New Worlds bringing in Scott Bakula to play Jonathan Archer would be a historic crossover event, keeping with the prequel's other milestones, like the Jonathan Frakes directed comedic crossover with Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek's first ever musical episode. Scott Bakula has not played Archer since Star Trek Enterprise was canceled in 2005. Archer coming aboard the 23rd century USS Enterprise would mean Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, would meet his hero and inspiration. Scott Bakula may be willing to reprise Jonathan Archer if an opportunity to guest star in Star Trek Strange New Worlds is presented. Bakula continued his successful acting career after Star Trek Enterprise, but he distanced himself from Star Trek. In 2024, however, Bakula joined his Star Trek compatriots to accept the Peabody Award on behalf of the franchise, and Scott was a guest on the Decon Chamber podcast, hosted by his fellow Star Trek Enterprise actors Dominic Keating and Connor Trenier. Could all of this be a prelude to Scott Bakula reprising Jonathan Archer on Strange New Worlds? To be fair, there's been no indication that Strange New Worlds is priming itself for a Scott Bakula guest appearance. But if such an event were to happen, it would be shrouded in utmost secrecy. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 premieres on Paramount Plus in 2025, and if there's no Bakula as Archer in those 10 episodes, perhaps a crossover is being prepped as Strange New Worlds Season 4 is being written before filming begins in early 2025. In the ever-evolving universe of Star Trek, crossovers between shows have long been a favorite device to unite disparate elements of the franchise's lore. One potential crossover that could electrify Star Trek fans would be between Strange New Worlds and Enterprise, specifically a storyline involving Scott Bakula's Captain Jonathan Archer. Given the franchise's fondness for time travel, alternate realities, and deep dives into its own history, such a crossover is not only feasible, but could be a creative and meaningful opportunity to explore the legacy of Star Trek in ways never seen before. The characters, Captain Pike and Captain Archer, Strange New Worlds, helmed by Anson Mount's charismatic portrayal of Captain Christopher Pike, takes viewers back to the pre-Kirk days of the USS Enterprise, offering an exciting view into the foundational years of Starfleet's mission to explore strange new worlds. Pike is a fan-favorite captain, revered for his optimism, leadership, and belief in diplomacy, much like Archer, the captain of the Enterprise NX-01. Scott Bakula's Captain Archer commanded the first starship called Enterprise, 100 years before Captain Kirk's adventures. Archer was a pioneer, navigating the unknown without many of the technological advancements available to later captains. He had to grapple with early interspecies alliances, moral quandaries of first contact, and laying the groundwork for what would eventually become the United Federation of Planets. He's a captain whose contributions were foundational, but one whose era is often overshadowed by the more advanced ships and sophisticated diplomacy seen in subsequent Star Trek series. The dynamic between Captain Pike and Captain Archer, should they ever meet, would be one of mutual respect and admiration. Both men represent the best of Starfleet leadership, principled, brave, and compassionate. Where Pike may have a more evolved understanding of Federation policies and diplomacy, Archer would bring a raw, frontier-era wisdom and first-contact experience. In many ways, Archer's challenges set the stage for the missions Pike undertakes. A crossover would offer an opportunity for both characters to reflect on their respective contributions to the galaxy's exploration and development. The plot: time travel and temporal anomalies. Time travel is nothing new to Star Trek, and the groundwork for a crossover between Strange New Worlds and Enterprise already exists within the canon. Enterprise introduced the Temporal Cold War, a multi-timeline conflict that involved interference from the future in key historical events. The Temporal Cold War, while never fully resolved, left enough open-ended mysteries to provide fertile ground for a story in which Captain Archer's timeline intersects with that of Captain Pike. One possible crossover plot could involve a temporal anomaly or interference from factions involved in the Temporal Cold War. The USS Enterprise under Pike's command could encounter a time rift or anomaly that threatens to destabilize key historical moments in the formation of the Federation. As they investigate, they receive unexpected help from none other than Captain Archer, displaced from his own time due to the same temporal distortions. Imagine the narrative richness. Archer, a man from the early days of Starfleet, suddenly thrown into an era with advanced technologies, seasoned interstellar diplomacy, and a much larger Federation. He would be faced with the awe of seeing what his early efforts helped create, but he might also grapple with ethical dilemmas regarding how much of the future he should learn and what he might inadvertently change by being there. On the other hand, Captain Pike would gain invaluable insight into the earliest challenges of Starfleet's mission. He would have the chance to learn from Archer's first-hand experience navigating the unknown, something that could be relevant to Pike's own decisions regarding first contact or Federation politics. The contrast between Pike's more modern Starfleet, with its advanced protocols, and Archer's rough and ready approach to exploration would be fascinating to explore. Themes: legacy and exploration. A crossover between Strange New Worlds and Enterprise would naturally explore the theme of legacy. Captain Pike, who is living with the knowledge of his tragic fate, could reflect on what it means to be a captain in a way that resonates deeply with Archer, who pioneered many of the values that Starfleet holds dear. Archer, in turn, would see how the risks and sacrifices he made for the fledgling Federation paved the way for future generations to explore the stars with greater confidence. The show could also dive into how Starfleet's ideals of exploration and peaceful cooperation have evolved over time. Archer's era was one of tentative diplomacy and trial and error, while Pike's Starfleet has a more developed understanding of the galaxy and interstellar relations. Yet, both men share